So, good morning or good night, good evening, depending where you are in this world, and welcome to another interview of the Shield Dude on a Couch. So, today it's all about Prog, man. We're talking to Ian Prise, and he's got his own like project for prog music. I listened to it. If you like chill prog, like very 70s vibes, like you'll dig it. And we're here to talk about the music. So first of all, Ian, good morning. I know it's early there in Seattle.
No, good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you know that I've always I need to go to Seattle because I grew up in the 90s and like Seattle was like my favorite
The
bands
place to
were from
be.
Seattle.
Yep. Yeah, no, you absolutely need to come up. It's lovely up here. I'm not sure how much the prog scene is still going, but they got an indie music scene going on. Yeah, it's great up here.
Yeah, it's on my play like series I gotta go to because obviously I grew up with all that. Uh, so Ian actually wrote to me through Instagram. Like he found my channel and he's like, "Hey, like I don't know if you like prog." I'm like, "I like prog." I reviewed like albums by Leprous, The Last Dream Theater. So I listened to a whole lot of music. So and prog, I love like prog. Like if it's I like different type of progs, like the more metal prog, and also the prog that you play, which is more like laid back 70s, like with great singing. Like I actually share this music with with people that don't listen to this music, and they're like, "Oh, I could listen to that." So, so it's a good thing. So,
No,
first
thank
of
you.
all, Ian, tell me a little bit about your background. You know, the history of your project.
So it's very interesting. So as with so many people, I played music since high school. Blah 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 blah. I was in 1,000 little high school bands. And you play all the things that are happening at the time. So we played our Blink 182s and all the kind of pop punk that was going on in the early 2000s. Um, but the thing we all shared, the one band, was Pink Floyd. And um, basically all of when Pink Floyd happens, then the rest of prog for me just opened up. And I have always loved the 1970s prog. It's my top favorite, you know, favorite type of music, whatever. And that was high school. And then life happens. And you go off into the world and you try and get a job and all that sort of stuff. So my particular path was I went off to Manchester, England, and became a scientist. So I went, got my PhD, did research science, and I had a bass. I played a little bit, occasionally would go into the jam studio if anyone was around, and I kind of kept the dust off my instruments a little bit, but I had not thought about music as a profession at all for any reason until probably the pandemic. And funnily enough, I had been doing kung fu with this guy who's now, funnily enough, a close friend. But I had just, as with all male friendships, just been like, "Hey, how was the weekend?" For 3 years, just once a week, you just say, "How was the weekend?" And he's like, "Yeah, it was good. How was your weekend?" "Yeah, it was good." And then 3 years into our relationship, he drove me home from, kung fu practice or whatever. And he was like, "Oh, yeah, by the way, I'm a blues guitarist and I record my own music." And I was, "Oh, what? What?" Like, I didn't even know. I just hadn't thought about it like that. The technology is there now that you can go into a studio and just record your own music. Um, so obviously the pandemic kind of happened, which was unfortunate, but I'd say about 2001, 2002, when stuff started to ease in Britain, that was it.
You mean 2021?
Yep. Oh yeah, yeah. 2021, 21, 22, stuff started to ease in Britain. You could go out, go to the studio, whatever. And basically Manchester's great. It has a bunch of like little independent studios. I went to this place called Brunswick Mill, and basically he was like, "Here's the recording interface. Here's how you set up a drum recording. Here's where you plug your guitar, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera." And now for the last 4 years, I've just been playing around with making my own music. And, I say bedroom artist, but it does happen quite a bit in like a studio. Um, and so that's kind of I did two EPs where I just experimented with like how do you make music at all. Did my first album, When the Sun Sets Here, and now did this album, The Edge of the Wave.
Yeah, and I'm curious, is your friend Ed Thomas?
My friend is Ed Thomas. So
Yeah.
look him up. He is releasing music now as Skyward Melt, but he's an excellent blues guitarist. And obviously he features a lot on this album, Edge of the Wave, as a hired gun.
Yeah, so no, I listened to it, and I was listening to it this morning. I'm like, yeah, this is morning music, like
Okay, yeah.
morning, like yeah, because sometimes when I gotta like talk to death metal bands, I'm like, not, I can't listen to death metal at 8 a.m. I know some people can, but I like that.
You want to ease into the day.
I need to
Yeah.
ease into the day, So it's great for like because it's got like do you sing on most of the tracks with Ed, right?
Yep. So yeah, I sing all the songs. I play all the instruments except wherever it says Ed Thomas, he put that lead guitar on. He is a fantastic guitarist. Yeah, it's all just me doing stuff.
Yeah. Well, you have a great voice. It's
Thank you so much. I was gonna
yeah.
say the great irony, and I was reflecting on this a lot recently because, as I said, me and my kind of high school friends were all Pink Floyd and like Beatle and Led Zeppelin and whatever enthusiasts. It's funny, we all sing in a fake British accent, and I don't think I had never thought about that much, but it's like that's the when I think of accent, and then it's funny to hear Ed sing. He himself is a British person, but you can hear a lot of American blues come through. And I imagine for the 90s enthusiasts, wherever you're from in the world, you try and sing like Kurt Cobain. And I was like, yeah, it's really interesting. Obviously, your singing voice is your singing voice, and mine was flavored by Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
Um,
Plus, like also, well, maybe they can sing like Liam from Oasis too.
well, it's funny that my friend said that. He's like, God, you sound so much like Oasis. Like, has Manchester rubbed off on you? And maybe it had. I don't know.
Yeah, well, if you say maybe
Yeah,
or something
maybe. Yep.
today or something like that, it would be cool. I'm jealous. My sister is seeing them in Mexico, but the
Oh
tickets
yeah,
are
yeah, the big tour. Yeah,
the big tour. I'm like, damn you.
yeah.
I'm not gonna go see them. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I could tell obviously Pink I could tell like there was a huge Pink Floyd influence, but also there was a lot of other 70s prog band. I have two Pink Floyd albums, obviously The Wall and Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah.
I have those on vinyl. And I actually got to see Roger Waters when I lived in Miami
Yeah,
for a
well, I
bit.
mean, he puts on the big shows. Like it's incredible.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
it it was a great show. So, and the good thing is, when I went to see him, he didn't like recite his book for an hour, so that was good.
Yeah, yeah. Just stuck to the music.
Stick to the music. So you growing up, you different. So you grew up in the Seattle area,
Yes, yeah, yep, yep,
yeah. And a lot of people don't think wouldn't associate Seattle with Prague, but hello, Queensryche is from Seattle.
yep. Yeah,
Like,
I was gonna say I don't know if there's as much of a and I don't know anything about the Seattle prog scene specifically, but like I think the other thing that happened is kind of the 2000s. The concept of like a geographic scene had kind of disappeared a little bit. So us little, internet nerds, like with the first internet generation, and I think it was the world was just so open. Like, and it was weird that like I only discovered grunge, the Seattle music, as an adult, really. It was I had never conceived of grunge as like a Seattle thing. It was kind of just music that had happened probably 10 years before I kind of came online. Um, and I love it now as an adult, but like my teenage years were spent in 1970s London, like that. That's what was going on. Um, yeah,
yeah,
and I think in so much as a scene is just people trading music. I think at that time, like my high school friends there was the deep prog, which I kind of brought to the table, and I have a few other like deep prog friends. But then you have others who are like, oh, Elton John or, Led Zeppelin or AC/DC or whatever it is, kind of everyone bringing something to the mix.
Yeah, no, that's a good thing. So, I listened to your music, your last album, and I know you have two. You're featuring two singles right now, prominent. "I Go Anywhere" and "There," which
Yep.
both feature Ed Thomas. So, tell me a little bit about obviously those tracks and the themes.
The themes. So, basically, when I came to make this album, and this is really interesting, I think of it as a concept album, but I didn't sit down at any point to be like, this is a concept album. The music kind of happened, I guess, rewinding. I'd finished my last album and it was just 4-minute songs. And I was like, that's great. I had a good time, but they're all the same 4-minute song. And I was like, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to finally explore the prog wizard in me. And I'm going to do 15-minute songs. Here we go. So I sat down and I wrote these 15-minute songs and just started patching in lyrics. And most of the lyrics came from this exhibition I saw in 2019 at the British Museum in Troy, or about Troy, and Homer and the Odyssey and all that sort of stuff. And I didn't specifically write about that, but the flavor of going on an adventure, longing, will you come with me? There's kind of a lot of that lyrical influence going on in I'd Go Anywhere. And where are you going? Well, I'd go there. Um, and what's going on over there? Kind of a lot of psychedelic imagery, I guess. The sloping hill of mossy tread, I think, is from I don't know, a Keats poem or something like that. The tearing your robes on angels' wings. I don't know, a lot of psychedelic imagery. I think it kind of like John Anderson. It means something to me. Yes, is John Anderson. It means something to me, but I'm not sure exactly what it means.
You never know. Actually, I visited that London Museum in 2016. And you know what? To this day, that's one of my favorite museums I've seen around the world.
Yep.
First of all, I love it that it was free. There were
Yep.
freaking
That's huge.
mummies in there.
Yep.
So there's actually an exhibition where they're talking about money, and they had the Nirvana Nevermind album cover,
The baby. Yep.
and they're explaining about the money. I'm like, I didn't think I was gonna see a Nirvana album cover in a museum. So,
Yep.
and also, what's funny about that museum is from outside, it doesn't look that impressive, but you go in, the architecture,
Yep.
that it has mummies, it has a lot of people like volunteering there to explaining to you. I remember there was
Yep.
this dude that explained to me something about like a seal, and he explained to me 5 minutes. I was like, oh, this is
This is
interesting.
actually pretty interesting. Yeah, no, 100%. And I was gonna say, so I, as I said, lived in Manchester, so London was kind of a good day trip town. And yeah, so I'm a massive British museum enthusiast. And I don't know what it was like that they do these special exhibitions all the time, and it was really good. And it was interesting. I had never thought too much about the Odyssey or the Iliad or any of it. Everyone knows the Trojan horse. You roughly know, I don't know, maybe like the Cyclops or Achilles. These are all, or Hector. You've heard
He
all of
dies,
these
man.
names. He dies. No, and what I think this is one of those things is I had just been like, yeah, it's I didn't study this in English class or anything like that. And there was something about the exhibit that really kind of stuck in my head. So when it came time to sit down and actually write the lyrics to this whole album, uh, there was a lot of that going on, just floating around in my head. I guess the one other thing I'd say is the end part to I'd Go Anywhere. Um, uh, I had a blah, 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 a really shitty thing happen in life, as we all do. Um, And that's where the thank God for the summer thing happened. Because I was like, when you just have like a really, really bad patch and you're like, you can still go outside and thank God it's the summer. I think that was massive, especially in Britain, where it's like, oh my God, if this had happened in November, this would have been a nightmare. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
In Puerto Rico, it's like it's fucking hot all year. So
it's always the summer.
like,
Yeah,
well, it's I no, it's hot, less hot.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, but so Odyssey, yeah, that's interesting. Uh, Actually, there's a new Odyssey movie. Christopher Nolan is making a new one.
Yep.
Good because Troy sucked. If you ever saw Troy
I
with
was okay with it.
Brad Pitt doing a British accent, the only thing that they got correct is like Hector was played by Eric Bana, and
Yeah,
my fiance says that I look like him.
you absolutely do.
Thank you. I'm the Eric Bana of YouTube. So yeah, that's interesting that you got to do that concept and be inspired by obviously museum. I love going to museums too. I know there's some people that are like, oh, they're boring. I'm like, you're not boring. You're looking at
Yeah.
history. You're looking at priceless art. Like, how can it be
I
boring?
know. And it was funny going through the kind of the different, I don't know, themes or phrases or whatever within in the song. I was actually surprised at how many times it was like, oh yeah, I saw a painting somewhere and that like got me thinking or whatever it was, like in this album specifically. The end part of I Go Anywhere, the Thank God for the Summer bit, um, funnily enough, like I then later went to a Francis of Assisi art exhibit at the National Gallery or whatever. And part of his thing was thank God for the summer, for the moon, for the stars. What like he was a grateful gentleman. Um, and I guess to that point, the museum thing, the reason I've always enjoyed the museums is you are watching, you know, God, we watch enough people fill in taxes, repair roads, all that sort of stuff. It's really nice to see other societies, other times, other places, people who've slowed down and made something. I was like, I'm never going to paint an oil painting. It's really nice to be in a room where people had the time and the energy and the care or whatever to do this stuff. So for that reason, I've always loved museums. Like I think you just walk around and see people who had enough kind of time and energy and passion to make cool things, and that's always a good thing.
Yeah, and in a time where like there's so much AI crap, we need like real painting done
Yep.
by real people. So
Yeah.
I want to show the artwork of your last album, which is it looks like an oil painting, I believe. Uh, Here I have it. Here it is.
Woo.
That's a so let me put it bigger. Okay, here it is. The Edge
Woohoo.
of the Wave. So tell me a little bit about who did the artwork, the inspiration.
So my wife, Meg, did this artwork, and basically, uh, I was like, what does this evoke in me? And I had just visited a friend in Crete, in Greece in the Mediterranean, and again because it was all the kind of Odyssey stuff floating around, I was
Yeah,
like, I was on the edge of the Mediterranean. I was looking out at a kind of you know the Greek Ocean area, and I had some like pictures from that trip, and I was like, I kind of want to evoke this. And as with the music, I don't think I was, lonely is not the right word, but I did all of this alone with the exception of Ed. And so I kind of, even though I didn't tell her to do this, I like the one little tiny temple hanging out on an island in, the Mediterranean Ocean. I kind of I love the color palette. I, yeah, I just kind of love that it evoked a warm isolation. Um, And again, that's not what this album is specifically about, but that was the feeling of recording it was kind of like it was a happy experience, but I was a lone temple doing it.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful artwork, and I think when you look at it, it really goes with the music that is on the album. And I also listened to the album before that with the other. I don't have the artwork for that one, but I listened to the to get a sense of the music and everything. So how long was the writing process for the Edge of the Wave?
So this is a very interesting thing about not being a professional music. So I had to fit all of this in, um, kind of nights and weekends. So I'd say I prepared the first demos in April 2023 or so, and then got or January 2023 got Ed into we literally went into a studio and jammed out on all of these demos in about April 2023, and then I edited and mixed and kind of whatever until about I think August 2024, when I was like, okay, the album's done now. And what's very interesting about A, doing it all alone, and B, not doing it professionally, there was never a time where you just sit in a studio with four guys and just say, okay, we're recording Penny Lane today. Let's go. Like, we've got 4 minutes. You guys know the parts. Let's go in, let's record it, and I'll do some solos afterwards. But it was, kind of getting the baseline Ed tracks going on, then going back in and re-recording the bass, and then going back in and adding some drums and then some keyboards. Meanwhile, figuring out what the lyrics were going to be, because I had placeholder lyrics for the whole thing. So you're also going back and figuring out the lyrics and then saying, I don't like those lyrics, and recording blah, 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 blah. All of this to say, I think because you also aren't using expensive studio time, you can waste so much time. And you could be like, I hate all of those keyboards. I'm going to spend the entire weekend just redoing them all again. And I think I am very jealous of, the old 70s bands where they're like, it's costing us $500 to go into the studio today. Come prepared and record. Like, let's go. I, as I said, I felt like the process just dragged on and on and on, and not in a bad way. It's obviously very fun to play in the sandbox, and then you've got, one has a lot of other things going on. Um, so yeah, I'd say it was probably like a year and a half to go from demos to complete. Um, but it was a long and winding road.
Yeah, I know, but it's like what I do. I'm a one man YouTube. It's a passion project because
Yes.
I'm not Rick Beato.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm not going to interview Sting. So it's a passion project. I say that, but I love watching Rick Beato's channel because
yep,
the dude knows so much about music.
yeah,
Uh, and it's good that it's a passion project. You're not like pushed by a label like, oh, you need
yeah,
to have this sound, and you're doing what you want to do with the music. This is what
yes,
you want to put out. No
yep,
one's telling you because you self-produced this. You did it's DIY
yep.
all the way. So did what process do you enjoy more, doing the music or the lyrics, or is the lyrics like the most stressful part?
Lyrics are pure and utter stress. um, the music, I feel like I could write a song a day if I didn't have to do any lyrics. But I also feel very weird just doing instrumentals. There are a few
Yeah.
instrumental moments and stuff. Um, but I always like music with lyrics. I really like when the lyrics finally work. And this is not to say the lyrics are like 100% just this horrible afterthought. I spend so much time on them because I actually do care. I like lyrics and I like when lyrics are good, and I actually can't stand when lyrics are bad. Like, I think bad lyrics really,
Hmm.
you know, And that is, having listened to thousands and thousands of bands, I'm sure over my lifetime, I think, that's the one constant theme is the bands we know are the bands with unbelievable lyrics. So they're not an afterthought, but they are the most stressful part of this. Like the music comes in 2 seconds. Um, recording the music, I can go in, I can do my little guitar bit, I can do my little keyboard bit, whatever. It's got a logic and a flow to it. The lyrics just take forever.
I'm guessing. And you know, when because I've interviewed instrumental bands, and sometimes it's hard to interview because I'm like I can't ask them about lyrics because they're not. So I gotta like
Yeah,
like different angle to that because if it's purely instrumental, and I'm a music fan, but I'm not a musician, so I can't talk like theory and stuff
yes,
because people will be like, you don't know what you're talking about because I'm a music fan.
yeah.
But yeah,
No, yeah, I'm 100% with you. I feel like lyrics and vocals in a more broad sense are the way we access at least this type of music, rock music. I feel like it's the emotional hook that will get you in. Um, and then I think once you're in, I personally think most people then can then kind of like get into the music. Obviously, I feel like having a good melody is probably number one. Um, but
yeah.
yeah, I think there's just something about singing along with a song, even if you're not physically doing it, mentally singing along with a song, I don't know, it helps.
Yeah, for purely instrumental bands, I need to be in the mood, but I like songs. I like stories. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I listen to an instrumental music and I'm like, you know what's missing? Some singing.
So singing, yeah, yeah, and it is a knife edge because as with bad lyrics, bad vocals can really, I liken it to like if you're watching a movie and then someone was just like flicking paint on the screen or something, when it's
Hmm.
like when something's just a little not right, um, it can horrify you. And I think that was actually, funnily enough, that was another thing that is really hard about producing your own music is there's never a producer or another bandmate saying you're completely wrong. Like you have messed this up, please do it again. I think that's a really, I don't know. I find that you kind of torture yourself, and you don't
Yeah.
want to, do that forever.
Yeah.
What is it? Perfection is the enemy of the good, or whatever the phrase is.
At least you don't have like a like a Rick Rubin saying like, okay, I listened to one song. Okay, I'm going on a trip for 6 months,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and
No,
then I'll listen to your music.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, but no, it's interesting. Like, you know what? I would love to produce an album, but I would be like a Rick Rubin. Like, I would give my thoughts because, but that's like something that I like to say. Like being there and maybe to accomplished musicians saying like, do that again, and they'll be like, you don't play shit, but I can listen to
I
what
can
you're
hear.
doing.
No, and actually, I think that's something that as a musician, I would enjoy. Like, I think it's one of those, I could imagine if your ego really gets in the way, you're like, how dare you just like, go on your adventures and come back or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but it was like, no, I think it is really nice, especially if there's no ego. And I imagine it must be really awful if you were the Beatles or Pink Floyd or whatever, and the emotions are running high and you don't want to hear anything, or Roger Waters taking over the band or whatever the thing, the interpersonal problems. But I was like, I actually think to have a producer that just pops in and just says, those keyboards weren't interesting, please do them again. I actually
Hmm.
think that would be so nice just to have a clear path, a right or wrong. Because I think when you're alone in your kind of room mixing stuff, you're just like, oh, I don't know, I like this, I like that, and you can just spin plates forever, basically, and that's a tough place.
Yeah, so for future music that you would do, would you consider like a outside producer for some ideas? Because I know it's expensive too, like,
I mean, that is the limiting factor. And if I could have gone to a studio with a producer and or a professional mixer or master, 100% I would. I just have never had that money.
yeah.
And that's a professional level of profession that I currently cannot access. Who knows? Maybe that changes someday. Um, I would love to. It's just financially limited. That's about that. And kind of, ditto for playing with people. I love playing with people. Like I really have enjoyed jamming many times in my life. I enjoy hearing, in this case, obviously Ed put his guitar all over this. I love hearing someone play with your songs. Yeah, I love hearing someone play off your riffs, whatever it is. Um, yeah, just practically speaking, it's really hard to kind of get people together. And then I'm aware it would kind of probably be like Paul McCartney in the studio where it would be annoying to hear me say, okay, play it again. Okay, play it again.
Exactly. So for people watching this, because they're like, he's saying that he has no money. That's not his house.
Oh yes, this is not my house. This is not my house. A yeah, this is
Yeah,
a corporate meeting room type of
yeah.
place.
For context, when we
Yeah.
first before we start recording, the first thing I told Ian was like, "Wow, that's a nice house."
Yeah.
Like,
No, yeah. Oh, yes, yes. This is not my house. This is not where my hard-earned dollars are going. Um,
yeah, I was like, wow, man. But yeah, but no, I know what you're saying. So since we're talking a lot about prog, I haven't done this question in a while. When I first started the channel, I did a video with a friend of mine, Señorita Sabrosura, that it was the top 5 albums that you would take to a desert island. Obviously, if you have a record player or anything, so they don't have to be all prog albums. Like if you want
yeah.
all prog. But which 5 albums would you take to that island and why?
I mean, so number one, no question, Dark Side of the Moon. I'm sure everyone on your channel already has their reasons why. For me, it's just like well recorded, great concept, beautiful. It's just one of those albums that's just perfection. Fantastic. Um, Maybe tied in first place with that is Yes is Close to the Edge. And for me personally, it's the same story where it's like the playing, the recording, the execution, the concept, everything was perfect. Um, then probably Jethro Tull's Thick as a Brick. And I had never thought too much about like that it was one of my favorite albums of all time. And it came back into my life, I don't know, 2 years ago or something. I was like, oh my God, I know every single note of this album. And, again, just the playing concept, everything perfect. Uh, then Pink Floyd's Wish You Were Here and Pink Floyd's Animal probably come in at 4 and 5 for me. And again, Pink Floyd are my first, my last, my everything. I love them so much. And Wish You Were Here was probably the first album I really got into from them. And again, there's concept is great, playing is great. It's just one of those. And then Animals was a kind of a sharp detour for Pink Floyd, obviously 1977, them kind of Pink Floyd's punk album, so to speak. Um, and it's a lot starker, a lot less warm than Dark Side of the Moon, but it's another album where not one note is wasted. Like you kind of strap in and you can just go on a full journey, which I always really liked. So I'd say those are probably my top 5. Um, because I feel bad that it's all been Pink Floyd, I'll chuck in Genesis is selling England by the pound. There we go. For a bit of relaxation on my little desert island. That would come in at like number 6, probably,
Nice.
just to groove a little bit.
Yeah. For
But
Pink
I
Floyd,
like,
I need to get Animals. I don't have that one on vinyl, and I should.
Yeah,
That's a good one. Yeah.
oh, so good, and it's such a beautiful album cover.
Oh yeah.
But and I was going to say, I think to that point, I mean, you've noticed that they're all prog and all full of long songs. I really love that. I don't know. I love chewing on something like that. And so, Thick as a Brick being theoretically one very long song, I find that to be very enjoyable to kind of like sit in a mood for 20 minutes at a time. And then there's obviously other joy for when you have, like the best of Nirvana or something, and it's just 3 minute, 3 minute, 3 minute, 3 minute, and little packets of fun. There's a charm to both, but I really love kind of strapping in and going on a 20-minute ride. Um, so there you go. That would be my 5 Desert album discs.
Yeah, good, good choices. So, Ian, where can people, follow you, uh, get them if they wanna? I'm thinking all your albums are digital, right?
Yes, yep.
So, but if they want to support you, buy something digital, I'm guessing Bandcamp, right?
Bandcamp indeed. Yep. So
Okay.
I am everywhere on the internet somewhere.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this type of project, because it's more like you passion project, it's not like would you ever like play some of this like live, even if it's like acoustically?
Yes. So the next phase. So I've just moved back from England to here, Seattle. Um, I am currently working on another album. So that's kind of working in the background, in the studio. Um, and then that is the next thing. I want to assemble a band. So if you're from the Seattle area and you like playing light prog music, hit me up. Yeah, I want to assemble band and then basically start gigging. And it's something I've always wanted to do. I think it was just kind of time and practicality allowing. And I think the other thing is it takes a lot of time to physically record an album kind of bit by bit by bit.
Yeah.
um, it takes a lot of time to do that. And I think it was kind of you make the sacrifice of like, oh, do I want to go practice live music or do I want to start working on recording and all that sort of stuff? And then, I kind of recorded a lot of these instruments myself. And so that means that you're doing thousands of takes of every type of instrument all the time, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I'd
Yada
love to
yada
go
yada.
yada, yada, yada. Yeah, I'd absolutely love to record, or sorry, I'd love to play live. I just now is the time of my life where I need to focus on assembling a band to go do that. So,
Yeah. So if you have your band and you're gonna play live, which instrument are you going to play live?
um, so I think I, I guess here's the really next interesting bit. So I have played all of the instruments on this, and I really enjoy playing each instrument. There's a kind of an appeal to both, or not to both, to all of them. So all the keyboards, all the basses, all the drums. I really liked getting into the weeds on how like the mechanics of how a drum whatever works. Um, However, I feel like live, because in a sense, like it's my music, I'd probably just want to sing. Maybe I'll play some rhythm guitar, maybe I'll play some bass or whatever. But like the thing that this really demonstrated to me is how much I enjoy singing. Because I've always thought of myself as like a bassist, then a keyboardist, then faking drums and guitar a little bit. Um, I think if it was my band, I would love to be out front singing.
Yeah, yeah,
So
because I'm like, since you played, like you gotta, because
you'd have
I
to
I
pick.
would I never understand why you want to drum and sing at the same time. I'm like, that looks fucking hard. Like
It looks
drumming.
very hard. It's and I think the one thing, so the drumming, if you can lock it in, and if you're not Neil Peart, I think Neil Peart couldn't do it with all the,
Oh yeah,
like properly doing all the stuff. I think, what was it? Levon Helm from the band or whatever. He just has a great feel. and I think you lock into the rhythm of the singing as you're, rhythming on the drums. um, I actually think it might help both, but I don't know. Maybe I'll attempt this in my live incarnation and fail miserably.
Maybe, you never know. So, Ian, I want to thank you for taking some time this Saturday morning to chat with me here from Seattle to Puerto Rico uh, to chat about Prague, obviously your music. I'll post the link for Bandcamp for people that want to follow you, support you any way they can. So before I let you go, anything you like to say to anyone who will watch this interview?
No, not at all. I mean, just go, if you like light prog, go check out this album. I had a lot of fun making it. I even enjoy listening to it. Ed did an amazing job on the guitar. Enjoy. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's what I got.
So, Couchers, if you like that classic 70s prog, you do not sleep on Ian Prise. I've enjoyed it. And like, if you're a musician and you're watching this, like, yes, I answer my my messages, my DMs. Like, but give me some time because I'm just one man
He's
with
just
one.
one man.
One, I
Yeah.
should name my one man couch productions. It's me. I edit, I do my scripts, I do everything.
Yeah.
I don't have a team
There's no team.
assembling my videos or
Uh,
doing my publicity. It's all me.
uh,
Well, my fiance helps me and gives me ideas. So uh,
it helps. It really helps.
it really helps. So, and I do it, this is a passion project as well. I do this. Plus, it's cool because I get to listen to so much music, and that is a plus. So, again, Ian, thank you for joining me. So,
Thank you so much for having me.
yeah. So, couchers. Until next time, this is Hector, the shield dude on a couch, and I'll see you all right here on the couch. Thank you and goodbye.